Hello, welcome to another top tier phenomenal episode of Widowed Too Soon. I am your host, Mark Massaro. I'm here with my friend and co host, Michelle Bader Ebersole. What is going on in
Wait,
Michelle land?
wait. How is this a top tier? Why is this one a
Because I
top
claimed it.
tier?
Because I claimed it and as that, and so it shall be. Um, no, I'm practicing my humility for
Yeah,
2024. I'm sticking to my
that's good.
goals.
That's
So
good.
we're a top tier, this is
We
another
are.
top tier
It
episode.
is. It is. It's another top tier episode. I'm good. It's another snow day. I saw you guys have snow
Here
too, right?
too.
Didn't I
Yep.
see some?
Yep.
Yeah,
School keeps getting
it's
canceled.
Yep, that's where we're at too. I mean, it's all week. I mean, well, the MLK Day was, no school, and then yesterday, and then last night there was like an ice storm, and
Oh
so
wow.
roads were like horrible, and they were going to be 2 hours late, and then they canceled it, and yeah, it's been a lot. And last Friday, and I think Thursday, there's just been a lot.
Yeah,
But
yeah, here
you know,
too. It's actually
but
pretty
my,
cool. I like it. I know
I
you're used
know,
to it, but I'm not. From Southern California, this is
yeah,
like, it's snowing.
no, we
Alexis
don't get
keeps
that
getting.
much.
Oh, you don't where you're at? Oh, I
No,
thought you get a.
once or
So,
twice
okay,
a
so it's
year,
just where
maybe.
you're at.
Yeah,
Because Washington's generally known for getting a lot of snow, right?
I would say Eastern Washington, not like Seattle
Okay.
or where I'm at near Portland, but
Oh, okay.
um,
Okay.
what were you saying? Alexis keeps
Oh,
getting.
Alexis
I'm
keeps
curious.
getting quote unquote suited and booted to go outside
Cute.
and play in the snow.
That's
Yeah, it's
so
pretty rad. So
cute.
she gets all geared up. She looks like the little kid from oh gosh, what was that
Christmas
movie? A
story.
Christmas Story. Yeah,
Ralphie. No, Ralphie's
you're
brother.
Ralphie. Oh yeah, yeah,
Ralph.
yeah, Ralphie's brother. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, yeah. So
That's
she's like
cute.
all, like walking
Yeah.
around, and we were playing outside in the snow a bit, and so
So
yeah,
they're
it's
home
it's
today
new.
too?
They're home today. I just got a text. So Michelle and I were actually we were just a guest on somebody else's podcast. In the middle of that
Mm-hmm.
episode, I got a text that the schools are closed again tomorrow. So that was
Oh,
why I had to
already.
pause in the middle of our podcast and
Oh,
that
got it.
podcast to call my work and say sorry. So
Can't come in.
it's I won't get into the financial specifics, but if I pay a babysitter to watch my kids and for 10-hour day and we are dead at work because I
Right.
get paid hourly plus commission, and so I'm just
Right.
getting hourly if there's no cars. So for me,
Yeah.
I'll just say it's not worth it at all for me to go to
Yeah.
work on those
Mm-hmm.
days. But also, like, I can't because my friend who watches my kids, their kids are also home from school and they have four
Right.
kids.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy to be like, hey, can you watch my
You
kids
want
for
two
10
more?
hours a day and your kids? So anyway, it's
Yeah.
just like I
So
can't do it. Plus,
you stay home for work. Yeah.
I've been staying home from work, yeah. And also where they live is a little more, I struggle with this word,
There you go,
rural
rural. You got it.
rural
Rural. You got
than where
it.
I
Yeah.
live, and so I don't know how it would be. My car's all-wheel drive, but I don't know how it would be. I'm not used to driving in the snow.
Yeah. Me
I just
neither.
have to admit it. Like I'm just not used to driving in the snow. So I know to take it real slow. I know how to handle my car if it skids, but I
I
don't
don't
know how
like
to
it.
look for ice on the road and stuff like that. And so, anyways, I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is like dumb for me to go drive down these back roads to like get to his house and then we drive into a ditch or something, you know what I mean? Just because I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to work to stand around all day. So,
Exactly.
anyways, so yes,
Yes.
snow days,
We're
but it is beautiful
snow
looking
days.
out the window. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is so pretty. It's so quiet. Like they're just,
Yes.
I know a lot of people are from states where they get real snow,
Yeah. They're like, what are you
up
guys talking about?
northeast, things like that. Wisconsin people, New York, blah blah blah. They're like, yeah, you can have the snow or whatever.
Yes.
But I'm like, no, we get like 2 days a year, and so we enjoy it
Yeah.
when it's going on. So,
That's kind of
anyways, so
similar.
what's been up with you besides the snow?
Besides the snow. So, I'll talk about my like health stuff. So I'm still waiting on the MRI scans. I
That's
believe,
crazy.
yeah, I think it's the snow is because I think a lot of the medical buildings have been closed too.
Hmm.
Might be delaying it, but I know this could be done from home. Some like I know that they have been released to the doctors, but the radiologists have not made their
Done
notes
their
on it.
reports. Yeah.
Yeah. So last week, so some good news. So first, the bad news, I still have ringing in my ear, but the good news is I went to the audiologist last Thursday and they were like, you don't even have hearing loss at all. I'm like, what? They told me to take these steroids and do all this stuff. Well, they're like, officially, so anything above 30, minus 30 decibels is no hearing loss. So I have like a teeny tiny bit, 10 to 15 in my left ear is lower than my right, but it's still all above the line. So they're like, we don't really
Hmm.
consider that hearing loss. And I'm like, but they did last time. She's like, yeah, I wouldn't have said that. So I'm like, did I take the steroids
Is
for
it still
nothing?
ringing?
Yes. But it's
Wow.
like I notice it a lot less. It's called habituation where you just get used to it. So
Hmm.
sometimes it's like that, but sometimes it's worse. Like stress makes it worse. There's a bunch of things. And I'm also doing things to help where I'm listening to these sounds constantly. One of them's like crickets, but Joel loves it. He's like, reminds me of Brazil. I love it. Keep playing. So we listen to crickets while we sleep.
That's great.
He's like, I feel like I'm at home, like with the windows open in Brazil. So he likes my cricket sound. That's
That's
good because
awesome.
some people might find it annoying, but my kids are like, what is that? Like I walk around with the sound like on my phone in my pocket around the house and they're like, what is that? And I'm like, it helps my ear. But
You should just throw in
anyway,
like a bullfrog every now and then.
yeah. Yes, so they have these great it's called tinnitus masking sounds on YouTube. So anyways, let me get back to the good story. So after the audiologist, I went to the ENT doctor that I've never seen before, and he looked at my ear. Everything looks great, and he wasn't able to see my MRI that day, but the next day he emailed me and said, so we did an MRI of just the ear canal, to see if there's a tumor, like a tumor that can, it's non-cancerous, but it can make it so you lose your hearing. So I was really scared of that because I knew that was a possibility. And he said, as everything I can see, it looks good, but we'll wait for the radiologist. But I know he looks at them all the time. So I'm like, okay, at least I can let go of that worry.
Yeah, well,
It's
I
just
can
one of
tell you
those,
something I learned about that is that if there isn't much to report, they will kind of put it on the back burner.
yes, I know
So
that too.
it's a good
So
thing that you
it's
haven't
kind of
heard
an,
anything yet.
yeah, that's kind of how I'm assuming too, is like I've been through this. I mean, yes, we did have to wait sometimes for Luke's, but I'm just trying to. I freaked out for a couple days. Like I had a lot of fear, like a lot of trauma from all of this. And when I was taking the prednisone, that does not help. I mean, I would just cry over nothing. Joel's like, it's gonna be okay. I remember just standing there crying. I'm like, I can't live like this. It was just like intensifies everything. And so the good news. He was like, I don't see anything, and I knew he was just going to say, learn to live with it. But I'd already done so much research. I'd already been working with this company called Treble Health, and I am not sponsored or endorsed, but they are amazing. I had a consultation call with them, and they help you with tinnitus retraining therapy. Same thing I'm doing, but they actually send you these things you put in your ear. You can barely see them that you wear all the time, and then you have 6 appointments with an audiologist who helps you also with cognitive behavioral therapy to help you to not be scared about this. Anyways, I'm in the process of, it's very expensive, deciding if we're going to do it or if I can just kind of do it myself, like I'm doing right now. But I'm in a much calmer place because now I know it's nothing bad and it's just this annoying ringing. Like right now, I can't hear it like at all. It just depends on the situations. No, 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 no. I've had enough of that. Like, it's been 3.5 weeks of ringing to my left ear. And I'm also thankful it's not in both ears. I'm trying to look at the good. And then I'm just still waiting on the other MRIs. And, I'm feeling good though. I'm just praying that it continues to be good. I've been running and working out and I'm healthy and not letting fear stop me from the joy of today. Actually, Joel said that to me last week when I was crying a lot. And he was like, it's not your health that's ruining things, it's your fear. I was like,
Mm,
oh, yeah, you're right.
yes, go
He's
Joel.
like,
That's
yeah, it's
awesome.
like, it's your fear. Like, I'm just so scared. I'm like, I'm so traumatized from Luke because I didn't expect anything bad to happen and it did. So I'm trying to prepare myself so I won't be shocked. He's like, but you're taking the joy from today. Like, let's not worry about it until we
Mm.
know if something bad is
Oh,
wrong.
yes.
But
He's
I'm
such a
just like,
9.
yes, totally. Yes.
I
But I'm
love
like
that. That's
so
awesome.
traumatized by my past of scans and this and that and being blindsided because when Luke was diagnosed, I was 24 years old. I had no clue. He was 25, like that anything could ever be bad like this. And so I think I just tend to be like, oh, there's something wrong, when he's like, no, it's good and tell me no otherwise,
Well,
and
trauma's a real thing, and your feelings are valid, your fears are valid, but Joel's
yeah.
absolutely right that, like, what can you do? What does fear do? Like, what does it add to your day, to your life, to be afraid of something that you don't know yet?
in God's words, who by worrying can add even a single day to your life. He showed me that verse
Yes.
many times throughout all of this. Like, okay.
Yeah. And actually, you can do
Like,
the opposite. You can take days away from your life by worrying.
yeah. Yeah, it can cause a lot of problems. Anyways, so I don't have anything new to report except for the ear is not anything traumatic. So that's really good. Good news. So
Well, Tina and I are praying for you.
thank you.
Yeah, yes.
I
I,
appreciate
I
that.
reminded her, um, and she, I believe she said she had remembered, but I reminded her that it was your MRI, and she said she prayed for you, and I prayed
Oh,
for
thank
you. So
you. Yeah, that was,
yeah.
I guess I haven't talked about that experience. That was interesting. It wasn't as bad as I thought. I actually took some Xanax. They gave me that just like I don't take that, but I was like, I need something. This is traumatic for me. And it just helped me relax. And it wasn't that it was super loud. I told them I have
Hmm.
tinnitus. Could you get me something? So I had earplugs and everything, but it was not horrible. I just prayed the whole time and
That's
just made
awesome.
it about like, just praying and then Joel and I had a date afterwards. And, it was just sweet him
Nice.
being there and taking care of me and all of the stuff. And it makes me
Yeah,
even more thankful for him. So,
that's
anyways, I'm trying to think
awesome.
of anything
And things
else.
are never as bad as we think they're going to be.
Right.
That's something I try to remember all the time.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, kids are back to school. Well, they were back to school for Christmas, all this stuff, but
Ugh,
here
I
we are again.
know.
But one more thing I really want to share. We had an awesome college visit for Haley. So
Nice.
she really wanted to live at home because she doesn't like change and all of that. But no schools around here have music education, which is what she wants. So we visited a school about an hour and a half away. It's a Christian college. It's smaller. I think they said like 600. So it's much smaller than regular schools, which she likes small. And they literally had everything amazing music education programs. She tried out for a choir scholarship. We found out she got it. We just don't know how much. At the end of her audition,
Wow.
and he's like, I'll send you the amount next week. So we know she'll have some kind of scholarship. And she could be on the worship team, ensemble, like all the things she loves. And she's never been
That's
open to
cool.
living in a dorm. But after we toured the dorm, she was like, I think I could see myself going here. And you're allowed to bring an emotional support pet, not a dog. It wouldn't be Bentley, but it would be our cat. So once she found that out, she was very excited. You just have to have a doctor's note. And I'm like, oh, Haley, with your story, we'll get a doctor's note. That's not a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really do think it will help her transition because she loves her animals so much. And just having her cat with her at least will help her. So, anyways, we're really excited now. We're waiting.
That's
She finished
cool.
her application on Sunday. And we are just waiting to hear about the choir scholarship. And then I know she'll be accepted. She has really good grades. And then it's just going to be a matter of like when the FAFSA goes through all the financially, can we make this work? Is because it's a very
Hmm.
expensive school, but just right off the bat, she gets $16,000 off because of her GPA. So I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
thank you
awesome.
for working
Wow.
hard in high school. So,
Yes, that's
anyways,
amazing.
that's been exciting. It's called University, and they also have theater, so we could come watch her do plays, and she could come home really easily. I'll probably let her take the car and all of that. So that was a big step in our family, like finding something that she really loves, and I just think dorm life will be so good for her. Like the only problem when we went to the cafeteria, she's like super picky eater and they didn't have chicken nuggets, which is like her favorite thing to eat. She only ate fries. And I was like, you are going to have to. There was so many good things. Like I had the soup and then there was like salads and like all these things. No, she didn't try. I'm like, you're going to have to learn how to eat other foods. So
Yeah, or get an air fryer in your room.
yes, actually, we sent Hayden with one home to college because he loves ours so much that he took it in his like carry on back to college. So we got him one because that
That's
is very
awesome.
handy to have. Anyways, enough about like all
Yes,
my. I didn't even ask about you.
that's okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, how's it going for
I
you?
it's
I know
going great.
Tina was for a visit last time we were
Yes,
recording.
and that
How'd
visit
that
was
go?
awesome. It was really, really great. We had a good time together, and I made her a really nice dinner one night when I got home from
Nice.
work, and we just have really good time together. It's just so fun hanging out with her, and we just laugh a lot, and I don't know. It's like magical. I don't know how
Oh,
else to
I
describe
love
it. It's
that.
like magical when we're together.
I
I'm just like the
understand that.
happiest version of
Mm-hmm.
myself. And oh, and we did something super cool. I bought a treadmill so that I could
Oh,
like
yeah,
walk in
that's
my
right.
garage, and because it's kind of hard to like go for walks with the kids because Luke
Yes.
has little tiny legs and he like after like 5 minutes he's like I'm tired. So I have a treadmill and Tina and I put that together. We kicked butt as a team
Nice.
together and totally dominated putting that thing together. So that was cool.
That's awesome.
um, And so this is something super cool. So when I was at Tina's house last time, when I visited West Virginia, we were staying at these little like cabins, but we would go to her house and hang out during the days or whatever. And I helped her put up blinds in her house. So like on the downstairs, I did 3 sets of blinds, and we had to custom order the fourth one. Well, it was the biggest one. It was like almost 8 feet long.
Whoa.
And so I was like, I had her, she was like watching me while I installed her other ones or whatever. And I told her, I said, I think you can do that other one when it comes, because of work. It's hard for me to go visit
Yeah.
her. Um, and so the other day, her blind came in all by herself. She drilled all the holes. She
Nice.
screwed everything in, all the brackets, and she hung these 8-foot blinds by
Oh
herself, and
my
they looked
gosh.
perfect. She
That's
put the valance up.
amazing.
She did everything. So we
Good job,
FaceTimed
Tina.
while she was doing it. I hardly had to give her any advice at all. She totally remembered. And I just had this feeling of like, just knowing what she's been through, knowing that her husband used to do all of this. So she
Yeah.
never had to do anything like
Right.
this, and that she just took it on and conquered it and did it and did a good job of it and didn't give up when it got hard. I was just like, I just had this exuding, like, proud feeling, proud,
Yeah.
proud
That's
of her. Like,
amazing.
good job. Like, that's awesome. Not that I doubted she could do it. I've seen her do
Mhm.
other things that made me know she had the skill,
Yeah.
but I knew this would be a little more demanding of, like, dedication to it, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And she totally did it. And even when it got hard, she was like one of the things that was hard was trying to actually hang it
Yeah.
above her head
Oh,
and get
I'm
everything lined
sure.
up and snap it into place, because it's long. And when you have your arms up in the air, like, your shoulders get tired. And she like pulled it down for a second, and she was like, gosh, like, I think I might need help with this part. But she's like, but I don't want to give up. And I'm just sitting there just listening, because if she wanted to give up, I totally understand.
Yeah.
But she just took like a minute, and then she just lifted her arms back up and went back to it. And she's like, I got it. And it like snapped into place. And
Nice.
yeah. So anyways, that's not what I've been up to, but that was just something really cool that I wanted to share, because I was just like so proud of her.
She seems so, my observation from, I mean, I've never met her, but like Facebook and stuff you talk about, she seems like a powerhouse in this cute little package. Like
I would, I
she,
would agree with that.
yes, she's like, she has like a quiet strength. That's what it seems
Yes,
like. Like she's not one of those out there in your face kind of people,
not at all.
that's strong. She is quite like one of those people that you're just drawn to, that like, whoa, like this woman has been through so much and she has so much strength, and she's very like for real humble, like not your joke
Yes,
humble,
yeah,
but
not
like
like me.
she not like you, but like, and it's just such a beautiful thing when there's someone like that. And just that's my observation from afar, that seems like,
That's very, very spot on. She's one of the things that's most attractive to me about her is her modesty.
yeah,
That
love
she
that.
doesn't think that um she doesn't see what I see. I'll just say
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
while I like that about her, because it's very attractive to me that she's
yes,
not like full of herself.
right.
But I also wish sometimes that she had the confidence that she deserves, because
Mm,
she's awesome.
yeah.
And I don't know, like, I get all like choked up, like,
Like, are
talking
you
about it,
getting?
thinking
Oh,
about
that's
it.
so sweet.
She's just such a great woman, and she doesn't see it. She doesn't see what I see. And so I can't even tell you how many times I've been like, gosh, I wish you could just see yourself through my eyes.
Yeah,
You would have all the confidence in the world in yourself if you saw what I see. She's very unique, and she is very, like you said, like, there's a quiet strength.
yeah,
And I mean, I think about what she's been through. She's been through hell, and she has come out the other side. And I just feel like she can do anything. And
mm-hmm.
you know what I
Like
mean?
Wonder
Like,
Woman. Mm-hmm.
like there was one day where she was like, and I think I talked about this on here, but she wanted to like build a fire pit. So her husband made a fire pit in the backyard, but she wanted to do like, make like an area around it where there was like wood and then like a rock area and all this stuff. And she talked about it. And then next thing I know, she went to Home Depot. She got all these supplies. She was drilling holes through the wood, staking it
Wow.
down. Like, she made it like, it looked like perfectly square. She put down the plastic. She poured in all the rocks, like, through, put the wheelbarrow, and it just looks amazing. And I'm like, gosh, like you did that. And so her daughter sent me a picture and she's like, look at my mom go. And she was out there in her, work clothes and had her hat, her like ball hat on. And I was just like, gosh, I love that woman.
That's
Like,
so sweet.
yeah, it's awesome.
She's
So you
amazing.
described her quite well. So anyways, yeah.
Yeah. That's actually it's really beautiful. I'm so happy for you just seeing your journey
Thank
from the
you.
beginning to where you are and you knew from day one that you wanted to be with someone who was widowed and just to see the beauty of your relationship with Tina and just how God orchestrated all of this, through the
Yeah.
podcast and just like I
Yeah.
mean we've talked about it a million times, but it still is like gives me chills to think about how this all came about and just like how
Me
God
too.
works in these crazy ways, like I mean you have a crazy story. I have a crazy story with Joel reconnecting through Facebook. It's just like God knows what he's doing. So just another, thing for our listeners to know, like if you're like I don't know, I want to meet someone, I don't know how it's going to happen. God knows. He's got a
Yes.
special unique plan for you.
And it can come to you out of nowhere when you least
Yeah.
expect it, which is
Yeah.
exactly what happened for us. It's just like,
Mhm.
huh, like, I didn't know why God led me to Tennessee, but I knew he did. And
Yep.
within a month of me being here, yeah, I mean, I've shared this story on here that, I just get this message on Messenger. And I remember thinking, I'm like, oh, that's that cute girl that like I know listens to the podcast. And we just started like messaging back and forth. And like she reached out to me, and that's what God told me would happen.
Yeah.
He's like, stop looking. I'm going to bring her to you. And that's not usual. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
not normal. Usually guys pursue women. Like, that's like the norm. But I just had felt like for a long time, like way
Yeah.
before I met Tina, that God was going to bring her to me. And
Mhm.
just the way she came to me was just the way that I felt about her. Maybe it was like my heart was in the right place, with like what I was feeling at that exact moment. But it's just been a beautiful story that only God could have written, and he's still
Yes.
writing it. And it's just such a it's one of those things that happen to you in life. And I hope this is encouraging to listeners and not like,
Yes.
sound like, like, oh, great, you've moved on and you're not where we are anymore kind of thing. But we understand the pain. But it's just one of those things where it's like, only God could have done this. Only God
Yeah,
could have
totally.
made this happen this way, where I could find like true joy and happiness again. And so, anyways, holy moly, I went way off
Well,
topic, but
no, but I
we had a
wanted to
great
say
visit.
one more thing on that.
Yeah.
Just seeing the pictures and just what you've said, like watching her interact with the kids makes my heart so
Mm,
happy too. Just like it just
thank you.
seems like so perfect that God knew that no one will ever replace their mom, but they're
Right.
young. She's going to play that mom role with them. And
And
like
she's
that, it's
great at
just
it.
I mean, it just seems like it's just like the perfect fit for their personalities and just like everything. And like, so that's so beautiful to watch too, just to see when you post the pictures when she's visiting and with the kids. And it just is like, oh, I can only imagine how beautiful the four of you are together interacting. And it just makes my heart so happy to see that
Thank
for
you.
like, I'm getting all teary eyed just like watching your journey and like these beautiful kids that are amazing and just that now they have this amazing mother role. It makes me
Yeah.
happy. Anyways.
That's awesome. No, I really appreciate that. It is a tremendous blessing. And actually, Tina and I were out front playing basketball. We were playing horse.
Cute.
Yeah, that was awesome. And so we were out front playing horse, and Alexis came out and she had made her this really pretty card that
Oh,
said you are you and you are enough, or something like
oh,
that.
so
Like
sweet.
she, and it was all I think that's what it said, and it was all colored in and beautiful. And it was like, yeah, I don't know, I was just like, oh, good job, honey, like that's awesome. It
So
was, and it really
sweet.
meant a lot to Tina. And she's just so she's so good with them, and it's just awesome. It's really sweet, and I'm so obviously happy for myself too, to
Yes.
have somebody in that, to see my kids getting that. But I'm so happy for them, like because they
Yes.
just they just light up like a Christmas tree whenever she comes around, and
Yeah.
like they totally are like, get out of here, Dad. Like Tina's
Yeah.
here,
That's
which
so
I'm happy for
awesome.
them. Like I love that. So anyways, yeah.
Anyways.
So had a great visit. We had some snow, blah, blah, blah. We've had some stuff going on. Nothing too major. So let's get into today's episode. Finally, after 25
Like
minutes.
25 minutes of our intro. But, hopefully people like hearing our stuff. If they don't, they can, fast forward through it. So it's
Yeah,
all good.
yeah, through all the boring stuff. But anyways, so today we were talking about, I don't know if this will end up being what the title is actually, but we're talking about empowering and encouraging the widowed. So, Michelle, if we are doing an episode on encouraging and empowering people, what comes to mind for you?
Letting people know that it won't always be as bad as it is in the beginning, like with the proper steps. That was all I wanted to know. Like I've said it many times, I called all the widows I knew. Is it going to get better? Like I just wanted to know that deep hurt and this place where you just feel like you can't move, like the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want all of the listeners to know that it's not going to be like that forever. Like that horrible, the beginning, you're just so overwhelmed and it feels like who said this? Was this a podcast or I don't know where I heard this. I literally can't remember at the moment, but somebody said about grief, it's like you're a visitor in your own world. It doesn't even feel
That
like
was
you're a
in that last week.
Okay, that was yeah,
A
it was you. Yeah.
foreigner
A
in your own
foreigner.
life.
Yes, thank you. That was last week from our podcast.
That
Yes.
was awesome. I loved
That was a
that.
great, yes, I need to make a clip of that too and share it because that was amazing. I'm like, yeah, that's what it felt like just being in this world that's not even your own. And so overwhelmed, feeling like hopeless. Like, what do I have to live for? Like, when is it going to
Hmm.
get better? And so that would be that's always the first thing I share when I hear of a new widow and I go visit them or call them or whatever, trying to let them know it's not going to feel like this forever. I know that it's horrible right now. And unfortunately, the only way through grief is to go through it. Like you can't skip this, but
Hmm.
it will not be like this forever. So that's the biggest thing I would want new widowers to know. Or widowers in any season that it's like it's always changing. Like we're not
Hmm.
in this same place. Like there's always hope that it can get better. Always. Like yeah, forever. There's always hope that it can get better and you don't have to live in that place. And you can, this is part of my grief recovery training, but like you can actually recover from grief. Like it's
Hmm.
actually scientifically proven. Now we'll still have those waves, those days when we still miss our spouse. You'll always have it. Tina will always have it. I'll always have it. The widows will have it. Like we're going to, even if we're madly in love with a new person, you're still going to have those moments when you think about them and you're like, oh man, I miss them.
And
But
sometimes the new love can create grief in ways that were
yes.
unexpected. And it doesn't always have to be something
Yes.
negative. Grief doesn't always have to be a negative thing,
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly. But yeah, sometimes, there's been things that Tina has done that has reminded me of Lacey. And
Mm-hmm.
while that causes you grief, at the same time, you're really happy because you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's so beautiful. But Lacey,
Yes.
that's beautiful. But Tina, but Lacey, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
so anyway, sorry, go on though.
No, and then I'm just thinking something that the most recent grief I had was last week when we were preparing for Haley's audition. She was just practicing all these songs and she just looked like Luke so much. They have very
Mm,
similar faces. And I just started crying a little bit while she was like practicing, like, I'm going to get teary eyed again. Like Luke would be so proud of her. She's like getting a scholarship for choir and she's growing up and like she wants to be a music teacher, just all these things because she's doing such a good job in her life right now with everything she's doing. She works so hard at school and everything she does that it was just this moment that I was like, I wish. And I think maybe God does allow him to see good moments, like I want him to know. I guess it's more like I wish he was sharing this moment with me. you know,
mm,
Joel is a great supporter, but he's not Haley's dad. So it's never going to be the same. As much
right.
as he supports us and he cheers her on and he's really great with her, it's not the same as her dad. And so I think it's that grief of like, I wish he was in this moment. And I know it's going to be like that at her graduation and, all the things. So grief still does come, but it's short. Like I don't sit in
Hmm.
it. It doesn't, it was 30 seconds, a minute, I don't know. And it came back right now for a few seconds. Like it's a feeling I feel, but the grief is not, it's like grief used to be like this wet blanket that just held you down. You just like couldn't move and all that stuff. Now it's not like that at all. Like it just visits for a second. You know, it's more like a sheet that visits for a second, and then it's gone. It's light. It's not
Mm.
as deep. And I just made that up right now. That's not bad. And anyways, so the encouragement, going back to the encouragement question, like that it will get better. Setting goals is really good. Widow Goals. That's the name of my book. It's actually 30 goals. The book is not out yet, but like it starts with get out of bed. We've done some episodes on these goals. You know, just start with something small, like, okay, I need to make sure I get out of bed every day. And that can be hard if you live alone. I talk to a lot of widows who don't have kids at home, and it's hard to have any motivation to want to get out of bed. Now, we had kids, and so you have to get out of bed. But those who don't, it's hard. So you might have to enlist somebody to call you every day or physically come to your house and help you get out of
Play
bed.
drill sergeant. Yeah.
Yeah, and like make small goals. And then if you're further along and you can do it, I'm going to tell you what I just started doing. So I think I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned, I read this book called Atomic Habits the other day, and it's so good. And it is like just all about like getting into your habits, all this stuff. So I started this thing where I took a calendar, it was online, and I put in like just 4 goals for myself every single. I'm very visual oriented, and like if I have a chart and I get to cross it off, I get all excited. So I just put in four goals that I want to do every day. Bible reading. Joel and I we started with the New Testament. We're doing that whole Bible recap thing. That's an awesome podcast. So
Nice.
we're doing that together. So Bible reading, journal, workout, and track my food. That's a new thing I'm doing. And it just helps me so much. I get to go over it. My chart's over on the wall. I get to put a little star by it. And then if I get all 4 things, then I put one of those foil stars, that's really exciting. But it works for me. Like I love
Yeah.
those. I actually need to get some more. I did that when I was working out before my wedding. I had this chart and all this stuff. And so it helps me. Like even if you have one goal, you put it on your wall, your calendar, and it says, get out of bed. Give yourself a little star. I'm not kidding. Like these things help, like the visual of it.
For
Like,
sure.
and then looking back at your chart, like, look how many days I did this. Look at how
Mhm.
many days, so maybe start with one goal. This is my goal. And then you can like look at, okay, I think I'm ready for 2 goals. Like I'm gonna read the Bible every day or whatever your goal is. I'm gonna put that on my chart. Okay, I'm gonna get 30 minutes of exercise, even a walk counts, like something, and just it will help you feel better. So that's like a practical tip I recommend, is doing that. And yeah, what would you say to encourage and empower widows?
Okay. Well, for the encouragement part of it, I just want to, more so probably more so talking to those at the beginning, but at any point, if you feel like this, I want to encourage you that if you're angry, if you're upset, if you're frustrated, if you are depressed, if you're any of those things, that's okay.
Yeah,
And that's normal. And you don't need to like hear all this, positive stuff and just snap out of it. That's not what we're telling you to do.
right.
Um, it's very normal. And so I want to encourage you that if that's how you feel, that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. That's very, very normal. And it can be normal to feel that for any length of time, depending who you are. But we want to encourage you that you want to take steps in order to help yourself, because you don't want to feel this way every day. So
Yeah.
that's where the empowerment comes in. So we can tell you that it's okay to laugh. It's okay
Yes.
to do something for yourself. It's okay to treat yourself. It's okay.
You had
It's
to say it.
okay to do that. I had to. It's okay to do that. And to empower you that, well, okay, because everything in life is negatives or positives. We can look at the same exact situation 2 different ways, always, like pretty much always. We can look at 2 situations, or excuse me, the same situation 2 different ways. It doesn't mean that any one of us is going to be perfect at choosing the positive, but you do want to train your mind to see the positives in things. Now, I'm not saying that you're ever going to look at your spouse's death as a positive thing.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. But you can see positives in terrible situations. And so I'm not giving an exact example of that. I can, but I'm not going to right now at the moment. But what I am going to give an example of is something you can do that's positive. You can say, um, like Annette on that last episode, Andy. I keep saying Annette.
Well, it's because her
She
name
goes
said
by Andy,
Annette,
right?
but I called her Andy. She said either one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. So, but like, she got this empowerment that she's like, my kids are grown, my husband's gone,
Yeah.
like I'm going to become a truck driver. That's what something
I
I've
love
always
it.
wanted to do. And she did that. And that's so empowering to remind yourself, to say to yourself, who am I now? Who am I now? Who do I want to be? So I am bummed that Lacey never got to see that I graduated high school,
Mhm.
that she never saw me work my butt off and get my real estate license. But at the same time, I'm like so proud of myself for doing
Yeah.
that. And even
Yep.
though it didn't pan out, I'm a mechanic now. I mean, I went total opposite way, but like I earned that and I worked really hard at it. And I just decided that like I'm just going to do something different.
Yeah.
What works for me now? And it's a little different with me with having small children, but um, you can decide if you want to get into a new hobby, if you want to start dressing nicer, if you want to get in better physical shape, if you want to do a specific diet, or whatever it might be, if you want to travel and you couldn't do that before because you were locked into a schedule or whatever, that the empowerment comes from you realizing that even though it's obviously terrible that we lost our spouses, obviously, but it's now your life and your life alone, and you
Yes.
can decide what you want to do with it. And I remember one of the first feelings, and a lot of people relate to this, it was kind of a weird feeling, but like that I didn't have to ask anybody, and not like I needed Lacey's permission, but like we had this rule where if we were going to buy anything over $50, we
Mhm.
talked
Yeah,
about
that
it.
girl too. Mhm.
And which is a great thing. It was a really great thing, but there was also this feeling of like, oh whoa, like I can just buy whatever I want.
Yeah.
And it
I
wasn't
know what you mean.
necessarily like a positive thing or whatever, but it was just kind of this like, I have a different life now. And or for me, one of those things was reorganizing the kitchen.
Yes.
Lacey had the kitchen a certain way, and that's how she liked it. And it didn't make sense to me because my brain is so like, I need things to be organized and to make sense. Like, anyways, like the pots and pans should be close to the stove, kind of a thing. It didn't make sense to me, but Lacey had it the way she liked it, and that was fine because it was her kitchen. We had this thing. It was like she's like, "This is my kitchen. That's your garage. You do whatever you want with the garage. I'm gonna do whatever I want with the kitchen." I'm like, "That's cool." But I did have this feeling of like, I don't like the kitchen like this. So I took everything out of the cabinets. I reorganized everything the way I liked it. And so that's kind of what I mean that I want to empower you. I want to empower you that you can be who you want to be now. And I would encourage you to pick a good and healthy version of yourself. Don't
Yes.
empower yourself to go live like an animal. That's not what that's not what I would suggest, but
On
anyway,
that
what were you going to
note,
say?
this is kind of funny. Rob Linger, we talk about him probably the most of anyone, but he
I know. What's
posted
up,
the other
Rob?
day, as a widower, there are some advantages. No one to need to talk into certain things. And I'm not really using my living room. I could probably fit a larger pool in there as well. And there's a picture of a pool in someone's living room. I don't think that's his. I think he's saying he could put a pool in his living room because he doesn't have to talk anybody into it. I thought that was so cool. So,
Maybe
Rob,
I
thanks for
will
that.
get
That
that
was
85-inch TV.
right. The
That's
point
awesome.
is, yes, like you don't have to talk about anything. I remember some of the same feelings, and we had like money was kind of a hard issue with Luke and I. So there was a lot of freedom that did come, that I was able to not worry about the money stuff and be able to like, oh, I can spend money and it's okay. But at the same end, then he was the one who did all the bills and all the finances. So he knew when we had money and didn't, but so I had to learn to know that, like to be more careful and all of that. But there was so much freedom. And then like for me, the thing that was very empowering was figuring out how to sell my house and how to get a new house, which, was a very long, hard process, kind of miraculous. That for me was one of my first empowering things. Like I went from not knowing how to pay a bill to like selling my house and getting a new house and like learning how to do all of these things. And it was such an amazing thing. And then I remember when you were talking about Tina and you fixing things, it reminded me of like when Joel used to come visit, I would have a whole list like, okay, while you're here, can you do this, and this, you know? And I had my brothers and my dad if I needed something immediate, but it was nice. And then my dad was like, oh, so nice. We don't have to worry about things anymore when,
I was going to
Joel
say,
moved
well,
here.
for your brother and dad, it's of course they're going to do it for you,
Yeah.
and I'm sure to some degree to them it's a chore, and
Mm-hmm.
not in any negative way. But I know from being a man to Joel, he wanted to do that stuff for you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
And
I feel the same way. I'm
I
like,
mean,
yes,
he
of course I'll
came.
fix that for you. What else you got?
Yeah.
You know?
Once when he came to visit, we like put down a whole new front yard because it had died and I was getting
I
letters from the
remember that.
HOA. Yeah. And he helped me build
Good
like
old
I
HOA
yes. And he helped me know how to do that. And he just helps. And now, of course, he's my husband now, so he just does everything, which is
of a
great.
dub.
It's
Yep.
so amazing. But I think you appreciate it more when you go through a season of your life without somebody to help you with all of the
Yes.
things. And so then it's so
Absolutely.
much probably how you feel when Tina's visiting and she's helping with the kids and doing all this stuff.
Yes.
It's just like, oh, it's so nice.
Or asking me like, how was your day?
Right.
Tell me about your day. And she's such a good listener. Like,
Oh,
and
so
I feel
good.
bad sometimes because I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, everybody
I mean,
listening can imagine. They're like, oh my gosh, like,
I
I
can't
don't know if I
imagine
could handle
that.
asking Mark how his day was. So, but, she's just sweet and she'll just sit there and smile and, interact. Oh, yeah, yeah, that must have been cool or whatever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You've been listening to me for so long. And she's like, no, I love it. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. But getting back to what we're
Yeah,
talking about,
we're
so
way off topic
uh,
today.
it's okay. Empowering and encouraging doesn't have to be
Mm,
these things we're talking about either.
right.
If you want to be a more positive thinking person, pursue that. Like,
Yeah.
chase it down. Make an index card, whatever you need to do to like remind yourself. Tina and I have been talking about
Mm,
this, like to think more positively, to choose positive thoughts, because when you choose positive thoughts, you will start to believe positive thoughts. When
yes.
you affirm yourself, you will start to believe that you're capable of things. Want to encourage you that it's okay to laugh. It's okay to live life. It is
Mm-hmm.
okay whenever you're ready to start dating again. It is
Yeah.
okay whenever you're ready to fall in love again. There's nothing wrong with you watching funny movies. There's nothing wrong with you enjoying going out to eat, getting together with a friend and having a drink and having a conversation, whatever it might be that you guys like to do together, like, it's okay to keep living your life. And if somebody doesn't want that for you, I would question whether they're like a real friend or not,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
they shouldn't expect you to stay in grief. Like, why would somebody who loves you and cares about you want you to stay miserable? So go out there, like, find your happiness and go
Mm-hmm.
get it. Like, go get it
Yes.
and pray to God, look to God. So obviously I'm not, suggesting doing anything, what do you say, immoral, unethical, or illegal.
Yeah. Remember, I
We're
went
not
through
here.
that
I'm like,
phase.
if you want to rob a bank, go rob a
No,
bank.
no,
That's
I
not what I'm saying.
remember going through that phase and saying, I'm saying yes to everything as long as it's not unethical, immoral, or dangerous, or something like that. And that's when I was like jumping off
Yeah.
the cliffs. I mean, that was borderline
Yeah.
dangerous, but that was kind of where I was that summer. Like, that's what I'm saying yes to everything. But I wanted to go back to something that you said about like believing what you're saying. So you probably know this. I think we've talked about neural pathways in your brain. Okay, so I learned this when I did network marketing, and I was learning all about self-help and all this stuff. But this is true. I just explained it to my son the other day. So when you have a thought, it's like it's a little gravel road in your head. And if you believe that thought again, you keep saying it to yourself, it becomes like a main road, and then it becomes a highway, or as we say, freeway. And it becomes like a
Yes.
freeway. And
Freeway.
so it's like really like imprinted in your brain. Well, the cool thing about our brain is we can actually change it. So you can stop thinking. It's like you can do it in reverse. Like, okay, so then it becomes the main road, then it becomes the gravel road because you're not thinking it anymore. So whatever you think will become stronger. So if you believe like I am blessed. Let's just say I am blessed. God has blessed me. And you start like saying that over and over, it will become a freeway in your mind and you will believe it more. I was trying to talk to
Yes.
Peyton about positive thinking and like what you say to yourself and all of it. And I've noticed that even in my like recent health journey with all this crazy stuff. If I'm thinking negative, it's going to feel negative. And actually, there's a snowball that my counselor taught me about. Ants, automatic negative thoughts. I know I've talked about this. You have one, your brain will go to try to find evidence. Oh, yeah, there's another one. And then it becomes this big snowball of negative thoughts when you've got to stop. You have to have an anteater and say, nope, I'm not going to go there, and have something positive you say, and that's super, super helpful as you're going down this journey.
Absolutely.
Like, think of something like when Luke was sick. Let's see if I can remember it. I had this thing that I would say every day. Let's see if I can remember when I woke up. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I will press on. I will be strong. I know that God is for me, and I know that he will make beauty out of all of these ashes, for this is the day that the Lord has made. Well, I remembered it.
Nice.
And I used to say that every day. And look, he has made beauty out of those ashes. Like,
yes, and a lot of that can be attributed to your belief that it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The mind is so powerful, and that's why I say that if you tell yourself every day, I can do this. Well, it's like they say, there's two people on the same task. One of them says, I can't do it. The other one says, I can do it. They're both right. And it's because of your mindset.
It's true.
And it's kind of like, I think I've shared this story on here before, and I don't remember where it was. I want to say it was on Oprah. But there were these two twins or brothers or something, and they were separated at birth. And they went on to their own adoptive families. And, no, I'm sorry. They were both in, like orphanages or whatever until the age of 18, something like that. I always mess up this story, but the point of it remains the same. That they both went their own ways when they turned 18. One of them went on to become super successful, owning his own company, married, kids, super happy life. The other one was like a homeless, drug addict, alcoholic.
Wow.
And they were both on the show and were basically asked the same question. How did you get here? And remarkably, and this is one of those things that a lot of people have talked about because it was just amazing, they both had the same answer. Look at my upbringing. What did you expect?
Wow.
Like every time I think about that story, it's so powerful because the one guy was like, look at my upbringing. What did you expect to happen? Of course, I'm going to become super successful. I was raised with nothing. Like, what am I going to just, lose the rest of my life and I'm just going to be homeless or whatever? And the other guy was like looking at his life going, this is all I can make of myself because of my upbringing. We all have upbringings, and a lot of us have childhoods that were difficult and that impact you as an adult. Some stories, some things you carry around with you. Like for me, for example, and I'm not going to get into it, but there's a lot of times where I still feel like that lost little boy that, I didn't know where my direction was in life, and I'll just leave it at that. And I still feel like that sometimes as a 44, I'm older now, 44-year-old man. I still feel things from when I was like 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Like in my heart, I can still connect to those emotions. So, but I choose positive thinking. I choose to look back at the things from my childhood as they developed me into the man that I am, the man that Lacey fell in love with, that allowed me to be such a, and I'm saying this in the most really like humble way I can, but I was proud of the husband I was a really good husband to her. And I do believe that it was because of my upbringing that allowed me to care so much about being a really good husband to her, because I appreciated her so much. And I believe it's that same character that has allowed me, because of the mindset that I choose, to look at my upbringing as what makes me want to be who I am today. I want to care about people. I want to recognize how valuable it is to have somebody care about you.
Yeah.
And so anyways, it's all mindset. There's so much to do with this life that is your mindset and how you view things. So I would say, just to wrap all this up, to point yourself on a track of finding the positive in the most menial, like irrelevant circumstances. And I'll give you one example of that. You can have the same exact thing happen to you. I got a flat tire today. You can sit there and complain about how horrible it was that you got a flat tire. I was stuck on the side of the road. I was late to my appointment. I was this, I was that. Or you can look at the other side of it, that either, let's say you're like, you know what? Like, it was really cool. Like, I figured out how to change a flat tire right there on the side of the road. I watched a YouTube video and I did it myself. I changed a flat tire. Now, for me as a mechanic, I better be able to change a tire. That's not
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. I'm just saying in general to you in the
Yeah.
audience who might be thinking this sort of thing, that you can look at that same situation. Or if somebody pulled over to help, I met like the nicest guy. He just randomly pulled over to help me. And we had a nice conversation while he was changing my tire. He wouldn't take any money for doing it. And it just like reaffirmed that there's still good people out there in the world. And yes, I was late to my appointment, but they understood and they were really nice to me about it or whatever. And so anyways, that same situation that happened to you, you can have two different outlooks on it. And the
Very
more you
true.
point yourself to the positive mindset, the more you will start to believe those things, the more you will start to see the world through that light. Boom.
So true.
Mic drop.
That's good.
Let me pick up my mic so I can drop it.
There you go. And I wanted to mention a couple other things that can empower and encourage you. Probably the biggest things you can do is turn to Jesus, like in a big way, like worship music playing all the time. That was something that really helped me, is just having it play throughout the house. It was actually when I was at a grief retreat, one of the leaders there told me, like, play worship music nonstop. And I really started doing that, and that was helpful. And then just praying, like Jesus is your best friend, talking to him all the time, whether you're sad, you're mad, you're angry, whatever, just having conversations all the time with him. Like he's your best friend and he really will meet you there. I mean, so many nights in the middle of the night praying and crying and worship music and all of the things, and being drawn closer than I ever have before. That season, like I would say that first year, especially, probably the closest I've ever been to God. Just he really, and I can't remember how many times the word widow, we need to learn this, is mentioned in the Bible, but it's a lot. And he really has a heart for widows, which means widowers as well. And he really meets us in that broken place, and continuing to pray, like, God, heal me, come into these cracks of my heart and heal me and fill me, and don't let me be filled with anything else, and not turning,
Yes.
that's a whole other episode, not turning to all the wrong things, because they will give you temporary satisfaction, very temporary. And then you're going to be back to where you were or worse. Like if you do things that have bad consequences.
Worse. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's nothing. I mean, and this isn't just with grief, this is life. I'm trying to teach my oldest this, who's going through some things, like nothing is going to satisfy you except for God, like nothing. And there are consequences that happen because of things that you do. Even if you're sorry, there's still going to be consequences. That's the whole thing. It's more like I'm talking to him. There's still going to be consequences. And, but just really spending that time in prayer, and it becomes where it's not like, sometimes I feel like in my relationship with God, it's been like, I feel like I have to check this off the box, blah, 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 blah. It's on my chart. I need to check it off, blah, blah, but like, it becomes like a relationship where like, I can't wait to talk to God about this. I can't wait, and you're literally talking to him throughout the day. I think that's where it goes from like religion to relationship, when you now have this conversation with God, with Jesus, like throughout the whole day, all the time,
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I used to be a lot better at that. And it's sad, but I'm just
Yeah,
going to
me
admit,
too.
because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in that place still. And it's sad, and I guess I'm kind of confessing this to God right now as we speak, but I was a lot closer to him when I quote unquote needed him more.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm just being honest, but that's something I'm trying to do for the new year. Tina and I just like recommitted to like reading our Bibles all the time and praying together. And so actually on that note, I'm going to put on my glasses because the print in this book is very small. I want to read a quick.
Wait, you need glasses now for up
I
close?
do. I'm 44.
They
Yeah.
look nice.
Oh my
You look
gosh.
very smart.
No, they
Very
don't.
smart.
Oh my gosh. So E equals MC squared.
You look like a professor.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the reason I gathered you here today for my class. No, so my mother-in-law sent me this Seeking God Daily. It's called Quest by David Jeremiah.
Oh,
And it's just a neat little book, and it has these little tiny passages for each day. And so I just wanted to read one on here, mostly for me. I'm being selfish because I need to catch up.
Here we go. Here's
date.
your time.
So, yes. So anyways, a different way of seeing. I felt like this is applicable. A different way of seeing. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. Hiking in the deep wilderness can be foreboding. In the morning, you may find yourself in a deep ravine between the sides of two mountains, barely able to glimpse the sky above. In an afternoon, you may be in a rugged old growth forest, completely surrounded by trees with no view of the horizon. In either case, you are headed toward a destination you cannot see. Aided by a map and a compass, and now GPS, you trudge on with certain expectation of your direction. That is what the Christian life can be like at times, walking toward a destination we cannot see, but one which we have every confidence of finding. The destination may be in this life, a decision about vocation or our children, or it may be eternal. Either way, we have a map and heaven and a heavenly companion upon which we depend. We don't know specifically what next week or eternity will look like. We are moving toward destinations we cannot see, but that is not a problem since we walk by faith, not by sight. Walking by faith means seeing life differently, trusting the God we cannot see for that which he has yet to reveal. Boom.
It's good.
Go David Jeremiah.
Yeah. It's a great pastor.
I'm not sponsored by this book, but I would like to be. David Jeremiah, if you're listening, I'd like $1, please, for referring your book to people. No, it's been great so far.
Yeah, it sounds really good. Yeah.
It's cool. Stuff. It's a great place to start. So the reason why I wanted to do that is I wanted to show you guys, you get a little devotional book like that. You read something small like that every morning. And it's such a great place to start because for me, I tell myself, I'll just be real. I tell myself the lie that I don't have the time to read a chapter a day or whatever, because I'm so busy with this or that. I'm working 10 hours a day. I got kids, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. I could find the time. I don't. Right. And I'm just being honest about that because I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. And it's something that I want to get better at. So if you're in that situation too, you're like, I want to draw closer to God. I do still remember to pray a lot. But I used to be better at it. Remember, I talked about it in the beginning of this podcast. I say, I don't care. Everywhere I'm driving, I'm like, Jesus, will you sit shotgun?
Yep.
Will you sit here? And I would just have conversations with him the whole way to wherever I was going. I would just sit there and talk to him like he's my homie. And we would have deep conversations and it was awesome. I don't do that as much anymore, but I do still pray, but again, not as much as I used to. And so that's something that I'm, wanting to do more of. And so if you're in that same situation, get yourself a little book like this. It is so easy. And the reason I did that is you see how quick that you can start the day with God's word. You can do that. You can read that while you're brushing your teeth. And then all of a sudden you're filling your head with these awesome gifts of reminding yourself that my identity wasn't in my late spouse, even though it feels like it. My identity is and always has been in Christ. And that where they are, we also want to be. And so anyways.
That's great. And 2 other ways you can do that. The Bible app is a really great resource where there's the verse of the day and then a video that goes with it. And that is something really simple. They started the video.
I don't know about the video.
Yeah, that's a newer thing. So you read it and then like a 2-minute video. So that's an easy way to do it. I also listen to the Bible, while I'm doing things. And then another great devotional I'm reading through with Haley is Jesus Calling.
I have that.
Yeah, I love that one because it's like Jesus speaking, talking about these things. And it's a really simple one that has a lot of great things to say. So I would highly recommend, getting some, like sometimes people are like, I don't hear from God. And it's like, are you reading the Bible? Like that's, yes, he does speak to us in different ways, but that is the main way.
Yes,
he speaks to us.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So just remembering to I need to do my part and open the Bible and ask God what he wants to show me today. And, and it's crazy. I think I shared this a few weeks ago. Just sometimes he'll show me the same verse over and over from different people. Like it was the do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has enough worries of its own. And look at the birds of the air. All those verses came to me in 3 or 4 ways in 2 days. And I was like, okay, God's telling me not to worry,
Yes.
He will speak to us, through his word. And so really taking the time to do that, whatever way works for you. So anyways, I think anything else you want to say about encouraging?
Just to piggyback on that I also have experienced that many times where I've been in prayer. I've been asking God things and I'm not hearing anything and da-da-da. And then like magic, I open up my Bible and there he is speaking to me about that exact thing. I've given examples of that on here. My favorite verse in the world now is Jesus looked at them intently and said, "You're right. With man, this is impossible, but with God, anything's possible." That to me was a specific
Mm,
answer to a
yeah.
specific prayer that I just kept saying over and over and over and over and over when Lacey was sick, that this is impossible. This is impossible. Why are you asking this of me? I can't do this. It's impossible, blah, blah, blah. Through that verse of the day, he answered me so specifically. And it was like, okay. And so he will talk to us through his word. And we all, and if you don't have this problem, that you're like, I don't know what he's talking about, I get up and read 3 chapters a day, blah, blah, that's awesome, and keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
We're all trying to get where you're at, so I would love to just be a man who really practices discipline, and that puts God absolute front and center of my life. And sometimes it's hard to do that when we just get consumed with daily life. It's hard for me to remember. I mean, anytime somebody asks me or there was an opportunity to talk about my faith, I absolutely will. I won't shy away from that. But when I'm
Yes.
wrenching on a car and I'm struggling trying to get this, axle out of the car, whatever it is, then it's like, oh man. And I'm not thinking about God in that moment, because I
Right.
want to have the mindset that I'm like, I'm doing this for you, God. And
Right.
when I do that, when I have that mindset at work, no matter how hard my job is, I can do it with a smile on my face. And
Mhm.
sometimes working on cars is hard, like
Mhm.
sometimes you're fighting with things that just don't want to come out and you're beating on them with a hammer, whatever. And it's very, very easy in those moments to start yelling at the car. But when I remind myself that I'm doing this for God, I'm working for God, I'm working to be an example for the kingdom, all of a sudden I can do that same job with a smile on my face, and, maybe replace a
Mhm.
few words with other words here or there,
Mhm.
um,
You
you
know,
know,
something that Joel shared with me. So, he, in addition to being a pilot, he's an airplane mechanic. And
hmm
he's like, how he brings God into that. Like, he said sometimes it's like, we just can't find the problem or whatever. And I asked God, and he shows me, he highlights it to me. And then God showed me, like, that's happened several times where he's like,
wow.
God has showed him where the problem is. I'm like, that is
Oh, I'm
so
gonna do
cool.
that.
Yes,
He's
do it.
like,
Ask him to show you
he's
while
like,
you're
it's the
working on it.
yellow wire on the Third Circuit.
I mean, I don't know how he shows him. I don't know if he
I know. I'm
gives
being
him
a dork.
an idea comes or whatever, but he's told me that several times that God has showed him like what the next step is to
I
do.
believe that with all my heart, because when you're on fire for God, you really feel a huge difference in the way God speaks to you. And I know that
Mhm.
from experience. Like, I was so close to God when Lacey was going through cancer, closer than I've ever
Yeah.
been in my life
Yep.
by far. And I saw miracles. I saw the most amazing things of God communicating with me directly. And it was like, I felt like we were on the same team and he was like walking me through it. And gosh, it was so powerful, because I was just talking about this the other day with Tina, that like sometimes when God speaks to you, those weren't your words. That was God. That was the Holy Spirit speaking to you. Like, for
Yeah.
example, when I was pleading with God, when I knew for sure Lacey was going to die,
Yeah.
and she had at that point about 2 weeks left, and I was on my knees pleading with him in tears, like, Lord, what can I do? What can I do? Like, what do I do? Like, just tell me what to do. I will do anything. I'm going to save this woman. Tell me what to do. And I'm waiting for an answer, because that's the way we were communicating at that time. Like, I would just feel things pressed upon my heart. And so you can believe me when I say that these weren't my words. I felt it
Yeah.
so pressed upon my heart. Mark, I don't need you. I don't
Mm.
need doctors. I don't need medicine. I don't need you. If I want to heal her, I will snap my fingers and her cancer will be gone. I don't need you. Let it go. And while that's really like dark to a lot of people, in that moment for me, that gave me this peace, because as her husband, as the kid's father, it was my duty, my responsibility, my job to protect Lacey. And I was fighting for her with all of my heart. And in that moment, even though it sounded kind of harsh, that gave me the ability to let go of the responsibility of saving her life, because it was totally out of my hands. And that's why I was so desperate at that point, because it was out of my hands. And I knew that I couldn't really do anything to save her. Even though I was looking up, I had found a nurse. I will never say her name, but I had found a nurse who told me that she would illegally insert an IV into Lacey, and I was going to order all these kits off Amazon to filter her medication, to make my own IV, to deliver her medication to her through IV, because I had nobody else to do it, and it had to be done in a very precise way, or I could have killed her.
Mm-hmm.
But I was researching and researching and researching how to do this, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it was in that moment that God spoke to me, and I decided that I didn't need to do that, that it was in God's hands.
Yeah.
And for me at that moment, it was so peaceful. So anyways, the point of all that is to say, like, the closer you are with God, the closer he will be with you. And I am right now working on getting back to that place, because I haven't been there. I've been consumed with life and, making excuses basically for why I can't be closer to God. So anybody might relate. Some of you might look at me differently, but that's okay. That's the truth.
No, I think it is much easier. I can totally relate to what you're saying. Like when you're in that desperate place, you are closer to God because he's like all you have. And then it's like our humanness, we start forgetting that as life gets better, and so it's important to be reminded. I mean, this is me too, saying I'm not where I was like after Luke died. I was much closer with God in the very beginning, and to get back to that place, because he deserves that from us, to be close with him, not just in the bad times, and that's kind of like your kids only needing you in the bad times. Like you want them to want to be with you in the good times too, and to have fun with you and celebrate with you and all of that stuff. And so I think it's a good reminder for all of us.
Awesome.
So
thanks.
That's good. Thanks for being open and honest. I mean, that's what this podcast is about. Like, we are not perfect. And humble. Like, obviously, we're not perfect. Humble. Don't be so humble. But like, we're just sharing like what's going on with us and being real, keeping it real. So, anyways, would you like to pray?
I would. Okay. Lord, thank you so much. Oh, what? Did I miss something?
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought you said, oh, wait.
Go ahead.
Anyways, starting over. Sorry. Lord, thank you so much for this ministry that you've given us and entrusted us with. And we pray that it is continuing to help people, and that this message was somehow encouraging to somebody, and that they feel empowered and encouraged to be a new version of themselves, one that is closer with you and just on fire for you. And that anybody that reaches out to you, Lord, that you would come to them quickly with response and answers, and a new heart for them to look at things differently, and that you would speak to them in unique ways that they need to hear. And I pray that we would all be reminded of how valuable it is that we can speak to the God of the universe through Jesus Christ anytime we want. And that is just such a tremendous gift. We thank you, Lord, for that amazing gift, and pray that we would recognize it and be grateful for it and have hearts of gratitude towards you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, you know what I'm going to say? Maybe.
Do it.
If you liked this podcast, well, if you guys know, why don't you do it? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. I'm just going to.
They're doing it right now.
Break it up a little bit. If you could take 5 seconds of your life, maybe a minute, and I'm going to give you more specific directions. If you're listening on Apple, which most of you are, could you just go and make sure you're subscribed? That's awesome. I'll never miss an episode. But go to where it says like review or rate this podcast, and you just click on 5 stars. And then if you have another minute, if you could just write something that you learned from this podcast or what it's meant to you, that would help so much. Like, we are a society that relies on reviews. I mean, I never buy anything on Amazon until I read the reviews. And right? I'm always reading through all of them. And now it has this thing
like 4.3, nah.
Yeah. But this is really cool. It has this AI generated thing at the top of the Amazon reviews now. Like, it takes all the information and tells you like what most people are saying. Love it. Anyways, that's totally a side note. If you could take a minute, because people tell us all the time, but not a lot of those people, some of them have, but not a lot of them have put that on the, reviews on Apple. That would be awesome. I think there's a place on Spotify too. Just look wherever you listen. If you could do that, it would mean so much to us. Also, as you guys know, we are a part of Widow Goals, which is the nonprofit for widows. We help with grief recovery scholarships, events. Like we have a local one coming up on Monday where we get together. And the biggest part of our ministry really is the podcasts. And we're able to do that because of Widow Goals. So if you want to give back, there's a link for a tax-free donation. So I think that's everything. Oh, if you want to, I didn't say all the other stuff. If you want to be a
You forgot so
guest,
much.
I did.
You forgot about the Bing 5-star. First of
Bing,
all,
5 stars. I know I mixed it up a little bit. If you want to be a podcast, if you want to be a guest on our podcast, which I know there's still some of you, I saw the other day, there's a couple more we need to contact. We will get to. You can fill out the form below. If you want to be part of a really great community, we have over 2,000 people on Facebook. Just look for Widow Too Soon or a link in the description. And that's all the stuff, I think, all the places, Instagram,
all the places.
blah, blah, blah. Look in the show notes. They're the same every week. You can click on the links and find us. And we really appreciate you. Thanks for being such a great community. And it's just been great to see everyone support each other on Facebook as people are telling their stories and connecting with each other. And we'd love to have you connect with people there. So I think that's all for this week. So
that's all, folks. Yes.
Let me try that. How do you even do that? Do it again.
Many years of practice.
Oh.
That's all, folks.
Okay, we'll end on your that's all, folks. Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. God bless.